Yes, so very good morning, all of you. So we have in our class now Khushi Shekhawat, Prakash Chaudhary, Pushpendra Pal, Rakesh
Good morning,
Raika,
sir.
V. Raman, good morning, Rohan Modi, Sandeep Singh, Bhati, Shaurya Dixit. So let's start the class. So today is the last topic which is remaining for your negotiable instrument, that is crossing of checks. So we will be taking further this as a crossing of checks. So before I start, I just would like to just ask you, what do you mean by crossing of checks? Any one of you? What is the meaning of crossing of checks? Yes, come on. What do you mean by crossing of checks? Any one of you? Come on. Crossing. Sandeep Singh Bhati. What is crossing of checks? Sandeep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sandeep Singh, what is crossing?
I don't know.
Rakesh Raika.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by crossing of checks?
Sir, it is a bank to bank thing, sir. The crossings,
Sorry?
the it is bank to bank, sir. The bank it get directly transferred to the bank account. It doesn't get cashed
No,
on the
that is
however.
that is not crossing, my dear. That is clearing. That is clearing of checks. Bank to bank, what happens is called clearing. What is crossing of checks?
So then I guess that was the one. But then
No, no. But at least you tried. That's very good.
So,
Yeah. Anyone
like,
else? By the time you
so
would
we
have
make
googled it.
two parallel,
Yeah.
we make two parallel lines on the corner of the checks,
Very good.
uh,
Very good.
which like gives a specific instruction to the bank, like how we want to make, like how the check should go, in which direction.
Absolutely. So it is an instruction to the banker. Crossing of checks are nothing but the instruction to the bankers. These are the symbolic instruction to the bankers what how he should pay the checks. Okay, so that is what is called crossing of checks. So let us just study it in detail. So there are two types of checks. One is open check and another is called a crossed check. Right. So a check which can be presented to the banker and can be paid at the counter of the bank is called open check. So you might have heard about this, that a counter payment of checks. So it is something which is related to the open check which is paid to the counter to the bearer. Okay. So if the drawer loses an open check, the finder of it may go to the bank and get the payment unless its payment has been stopped. So it is very, very dangerous to have the open checks. Okay. So the next thing is the cross check. What will happen? So open checks, if you keep it open, if it is not properly crossed, so the instruction to the there is no instruction to the banker. So whosoever will go to the bank will get the payment of the check irrespective of whosoever he is. Okay. So finder of the check, if the check is lost and stop payment has not been done. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? The finder of this check will get the payment from the bank without you know uh, mm, without any hassle or without any problem. Okay. And the banker cannot also refuse it. So the finder may also transfer it to a holder in due course who is entitled to the money represented by the check. So he even can give it to someone else, and that person will also get the money. So it was to prevent the loss incurred by the open checks getting into hands of the wrong person. The crossing of check has been introduced, right? So that what is called means what is the use of crossing? It is an instruction to the banker that how to make payment of the checks as such. Okay. Yeah. So when a check bears a across its face, when check is bearing two parallel lines, transverse lines, okay, the check is said to be crossed. So the lines are usually drawn on the left hand top corner, but may be drawn anywhere. So there is no problem in it to just draw it anywhere. Okay, so it is normally drawn on the top left corner of the checks as such. Okay, so this is what happens. Okay. Uh, Next is what does it mean? So the crossing of check means instruction to the drawee, that is the paying banker, that the payment is not to be made on the counter, but it should be made after transferring the payment to the bank. Means it is an instruction that whosoever is bearing the check, payment is not stopped. Payment will definitely be made, but how it will be made? It will first be transferred uh, to the account of that particular person, and then from his account if he wants, he can withdraw the payment of that check. Okay, so what is the objective of the crossing? A crossing is a warning to the bank not to make payment of the cross check over the counter. So the crossing operates as a caution to the paying banker. So it is these are something, a red light, that okay, you have to pay it, but I am instructing you to pay it by transferring the amount in his bank only. Okay, so the crossing affects the mode of the check. Yes, an open or uncrossed check is payable to payee or holder at the counter of the bank. In such a case, if a wrong person takes away the payment, it is difficult to trace him. Okay, so the payment of the cross check can be obtained only through a banker. Therefore, crossing is a mode of assuring that only a rightful holder means the person who is actually entitled to receive the money, he only gets the payment. So it is always good to cross the check, but if you want to just take a counter payment or you want to have a cash payment, so do not cross the check at that time. Okay, so crossing does not affect the transferability or negotiability of a check at all. Okay, so it is really transferable, it is really negotiable, no problem. But the condition is that the whosoever will be the holder of the check will not get the counter payment. Okay, he has to get it transferred in his bank, and then only the payment can be extracted out of that check. So a check cross can be negotiated just the same way as the open check. A person acquiring the cross check in good faith becomes its holder in due course, just as a open check it happens with open. So there is no problem in transferability or negotiability of this check. So crossing is a material alteration, but the crossing of the check by holder does not in any way affect the right in this. So it is an alteration. Alteration is there. For sure, alteration is there, but at the same time, such alteration, is for the safety. And even this alteration can be done by anyone, any of the holder in the due course. Okay, so a person has suppose transferred this check to two persons. So A has given to B, B has given to C, and C has put two cross lines. So there itself it becomes now safe. Okay, though the check was issued by A to B. Okay, and B to C, it has been endorsed and it has been transferred by delivery, because endorsement is not required in such a case. Even if it is there, no problem is there. Okay, so in that case, the person who is the holder can make it is actually alteration. It is you are actually restricting the banker or restricting the person to get the payment in cash. That's it. So that what is the alteration, but it's a material alteration. Why? Because otherwise the payment will go in your bank account, and then only it can be, you can take the payment, otherwise not. Okay, so alteration is from the point of view of taking the payment from the bank. So such alteration actually restricts the payment by transferring the payment into the account of the holder. Okay, so now there are various types of crossing. General crossing, where the check bears across its face two parallel transverse lines without any words, or with words and company, or and not negotiable. Okay, so written in between these two lines, it is called a general crossing. Where the check is crossed generally, the banker on whom it is drawn shall not pay it otherwise than to a banker. Means he will only, now for example, a person is not having the account of the check which he has received from other person. So does he need to open the account in the bank in order to get the payment? No. What he will do, he will get the check deposit in his bank. So his banker will get the money from the bank of the person who has actually issued the check. Okay, so in that case, if it is crossed, then it will be an instruction to the banker that to collect the money to get it through bank only. So what happens? That in that case, what will happen? Counter payment number one is not there, and the other person will deposit the check in his bank, and he only can get the payment. Whosoever will deposit the check can get the payment of the check from their bank itself. So what it will do? Whoever is taking a payment, his account will first be credited and then will be debited. So it will be, it can be identified that who has actually taken the payment. Next is your special crossing. So special crossing where the lines on the crossing bears the name of the banker, either with or without any additional words. Now what is the effect? The effect is that its payment can be obtained only through a particular banker whose name appears between the lines. Okay, so it cannot be done through any other bank. Okay, so according to section 127, where a check is crossed especially to more than one banker, the banker on whom it is drawn shall refuse the payment thereof, except where the banker to whom it is crossed may cross it especially to another banker, his agent for collection. So in that case, he can actually again cross it to certain bank. So bank can get it crossed in the name of some other bank, so that other bank will actually collect the payment on his behalf. This happens only when the two banks are different. The person who is taking the payment and the person who is paying the payment. So both the banks will give. So a person who is having a generally cross check will give it to banker, and the banker can do a special crossing and can authorize some of his agent, some other bank as his agent to collect the payment on the behalf of the other. Next is account pay crossing. So when the words pay or account pay only are added to the general or the special crossing, it is called restrictive crossing. Now the effect of the account pay crossing is that the banker is supposed to collect the check on the behalf of the payee only, whose name appears on the face of the check. If the banker collects this check from an endorsee, that is a person other than the named as a payee, he can be held responsible in case the endorsee turns out to be a wrongful holder of the check. Okay, so thus the liability of the banker enhances to great extent. Such type of crossing is not statutorily recognized. It's not statutorily recognized, but it is there, and here this type of crossing is mostly this type of crossing happens that if it is an account pay crossing. So the person who is having the account in his bank, the banker will collect the thing from his account. Okay. Next is non-negotiable crossing. This requires writing on the word non-negotiable in addition to the parallel. This is also one type of general crossing. Okay, so these words may be written aside or outside the lines according to section 130. A person taking a check cross generally or especially bearing either the words not negotiable shall not have and shall not be capable of giving a better title to the check than that which the person from whom he took it. Okay, so it is a statutory crossing. A check will in such crossing is not further negotiable. It means the bank wants to, or sorry, the other person wants to stop the negotiation of the check further. So whomsoever the check is given, he must get the payment of that check. Now, normally what happens, if you might be knowing that there are certain the checks which are issued by those people who win the prize in the Kaun Banega Crorepati or some other types of events. So those checks which are received are called non-negotiable checks. So they only that person who has won the things is only and only entitled to collect the payment of it of this particular check. It will not be further negotiable. You cannot transfer this to anyone else. So it especially happens in that case. Okay. So if you want any person to get the check collected from you only, then in that case, this type of crossing is done. Next is the protection of the liability of the paying banker. So check payable to order, where the check payable to order purports to be endorsed by on behalf of the payee, the banker is discharged by payment in due course. So the banker, in the other words, can debit his customer's account even though the endorsement by the payee might turn out to be a forgery endorsement or whatever, might have been placed by the payee's agent without his authority. So this is what is called payable to order. So check payable to order means a person who is named or it is ordered. The person has to give the check according to the order of that person in whose name the check has been written. Okay. Check payable to bearer. As regards the bearer check, the rule is that once a bearer is always a bearer, a banker gets a good discharge by payment in the due course of the amount on the bearer check to the holder of the check. It does not matter where the apparent holder is the owner of the check or not. So whosoever will be the bearer of the check is entitled to get the payment of the check on presentment of the same to the banker. Okay. Now, what are the protection of the liability of the paying banker? What would happen? What in this case are there? What are the protections? So, payment of the check crossed generally. Where the check is crossed generally, the banker on whom it is drawn shall not pay it otherwise than to a banker. So, this is one protection because what the thing is, it has to be paid from one bank to another bank. So, when banker is paying to another banker is not running anywhere. Okay, so bank will always exist. So what will happen? The check which is being paid to another banker, it is a safety of one banker to get it paid through the another banker, or it is always safe to that the liability of the banker will be fixed in this case, and it will be a safety from when the transfer happens from banker to banker rather than from banker to a person. Payment of check cross especially. So where the check is crossed, especially the banker on whom it is drawn shall not pay otherwise than to a banker to whom it is crossed. So if the special crossing is there, then it will be payable only to that banker on which it is crossed. It means that the person must have the account in that bank and on which the special crossing has been done. So he can realize the payment only through that bank if it is specially crossed. So in that case, if the person is not having the account, he has to open the account in that bank in order to get the payment. Otherwise, the payment will not be made. Okay. Or otherwise, what he can do, he can just transfer it to someone else who is already having the account in that bank, take the payment in that bank and get it transferred in his name in some another. But this can be a lengthy process. Next is payment in due course of the cross check. So where the banker on whom the cross check is drawn has paid the same in due course, the banker paying the check, and in case the check has come to the hands of the payee, the drawer thereof shall respectively be entitled to same rights as placed in the same position in all respect as they would be respectively be entitled to and placed in if the amount of the check had been paid to and received by a true owner. So what will happen? Who is this who has just now entered with all this lot of noise? Have some etiquettes of being in the class, that too online. Okay, so if the payment is to be made in the payment in if the payment is the payment in due course and the holder in due course is to receive the payment, the banker is bound to make payment in holder to the holder in due course, and holder in due course will be as good as that of the person on whom for whom the check has been written and banker has to pay to him. Now next is the what is the this is the protection of the liability of a paying banker. Now let us see the protection and liability of the collecting banker. Okay, so the section 131 says no liability of the banker receiving the payment of a check. So a banker who has in good faith and without negligence received any payment of a customer of a check cross generally or especially whatever, in case title of the check proves to be defective, incur liability to the true owner of the check by reason only having received such payment. Actually, what the thing is here, there is no liability of the banker as such, because banker has been instructed to get the payment. So if a person who has forged the check and has collected the check, payment through his banker, So his bank will not be responsible, neither the bank of the other person will be responsible. Okay, until and unless there is a stop payment or some instruction has been given to the banker in this behalf. So he will just be a collecting banker. Normally, collecting bankers are having no such liabilities as such of the collection of the checks, right? Because they are the collecting bankers, so they are collecting it on the behalf of their customers. If the customers are wrong, the bank cannot be held responsible for that. Okay, so it is the customer who will be held responsible, not the banker. So banker is actually collecting banker. So collecting banker will collect the money and keep it on the behalf of the of his customers. Okay, so he is a collecting banker. Okay, so in order to avail such protection, the banker needs to prove the following. What are the things? That the banker had received the payment of the cross check, the collection was paid by the bank on behalf of the customer. That is, so because if, and these things are there. So if and normally these things, there is nothing to prove in these things, because the today the system is electronic. So in electronic system, these two things are but obvious. Okay. Next is the protection of liability of collecting banker. So you can say, sorry. Next is your dishonor of check for insufficient funds. So now here we have already gone with the crossing of checks. Now we are studying about what happens if the check gets dishonored because of the insufficient fund. This is the most important section in the entire Negotiable Instrument Act, and normally it is called 138. Okay. So the case is also called 138 case because it actually attacks a criminal liability besides having the civil liability. Okay, so this is one of the very famous, you can say, sections and very important sections of negotiable instrument. So where the check drawn by a person on an account maintained by him with a banker for non-payment of any amount of the money to another person from out of the account for discharge in whole or part of his any debt or liability, okay, and is turned by the banker unpaid either because of the amount of the money standing in the credit of the account is insufficient to honor the check, or that it exceeds the amount arranged to be paid from the account by an agreement made with the bank. So if it happens, then there will be dishonor of check and the check will be said to be a dishonor. Okay. Further, such person shall be deemed to have committed an offense. Sorry, and shall be punished with the imprisonment for term which may extend to 2 years, or with a fine which may extend twice the amount of the check, or with both, provided that this section shall not apply unless the check presented within the validity period. If the check presented is out of validity period, for example, the check presented is after suppose after the 3 months has over. Okay, so in that case it will not be right. So it is given over here that if it is more than 3 months, the date on which it is drawn, so it will not be a valid one. Next is if the demand of the payment is through the notice, so the payee or the holder in due course of the check, as the case may be, makes a demand for the payment of the said amount of the money by giving the notice in writing to the drawer of the check. Okay, so in that case, in these two situations, except in these two situations, so it has to happen in 30 days. So except in these two situations, you can say there is a these are the two important situations where the person will not be liable. Means this imprisonment of 2 years may not be there, or or you can say contrary, he has to prove these things. Okay, so next is the failure of drawer to make the payment. Drawer of such checks, if fails to make the payment of the said amount of the money to the payee, as the case may be, to the holder in due course of the check within 15 days of the receipt of the said notice. Now, what happens when the dishonor of the bill happens or dishonor of the check happens? A notice is to be served. A notice is to be served to the banker and to the drawer of the check, and if he is given a 15 days notice, this is also a legal provision that 15 days period will be given to that person to make the payment along with the dishonor charges. So bank also deduct the dishonor charges from the, not only from the the account of the drawer, but also the account of the payee who has actually got the check dishonored. So that is again to be paid. So for the purpose of this section, debt and other liability means a legally enforceable debt or any other liability which has been taken care of. Okay. Next is presumption in favor of the holder. So when a check is dishonored, it shall be presumed unless the contrary is proved that the holder of the check received the check of the nature referred to in section 138 for the discharge in whole or in part of any debt or the liability. Okay. So this is what is a presumption, that a person who is actually holding the check, who has written the check, is he wants to discharge his liability, and the person who has accepted the check, he is the creditor who has actually accepted the check in discharge of the previous liability or the current, you can say, liability of, suppose for example, he might have given some goods on the basis of which the check has been given. Okay, so presumption prescribed here is rebuttable presumptions, as the provisions clearly provide that the person issuing the check is at the liberty to prove to the contrary. So if it is proven to the contrary that I have not given the check for the value received, so if he is able to prove to the contrary, then those sections will not be applicable. Means this there is a dishonor, no doubt, but that jail and fine will not happen. Why? Because the person has not given the check for the value received. Check can be given. You can also get a check as a gift. But if the check gets bounced and then you file a suit against the other party, then your suit may not be maintainable to just put the other party who has given you the gift in the jail, because you have not received any value out of it. Okay. So the effect of the presumption is to place as the evidential burden. Yeah, guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In
Yes,
between,
sir.
I think connection. I lost the connection in
Yes.
between.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So what defense? Defense which may not be allowed in prosecution under section 138. This is given under section 140. So it shall not be a defense in prosecution of an offence under section 138 of that the drawer had no reason to believe that when he issued the check, that the check may be dishonored or presentment for the reason stated in the section. Now he cannot say that at the time when I made the check, I had some balance in my account, and when the check was made, there was some balance in my account. Now the check is dishonored because some installment came in between, and the bank auto debited my account, or something like this will happen. That bank has charged its quarterly charges from my account, and immediately the balance became 100 rupees less than what I intended to pay. So these all things will not be allowed. He will not be allowed to, just say these all things at the time when I present, I just drawn the check. There was a sufficient balance, but when this particular person put the check, so because there is a 3 months period now in between. Suppose I just issue a check now, and the person is going to the bank after 2 months. So I have to keep that account. I have to track my account whether the person has taken the money or not. Okay. So I cannot make such excuses. Now, what are the offences of the company? So if a person committing an offence under section 138 is a company, every person who at the time of offence was committed was in charge of and as responsible to the company for the conduct of his business of the company, as well as the company shall be deemed to be guilty of the offence and shall be liable to be proceeded against and punished accordingly. Now there are certain exceptions provided that the nothing contained in the subsection shall render a person liable to punishment if he proves that the offence was committed without his knowledge or that he had exercised all due diligence to prevent the commission of such offence. So now it clear to everyone that dishonor of check is a criminal offence. Criminal offence means it attracts a criminal liability and there will be a punishment of not less than 2 years and fine which may be double the amount of the check which you are having. Okay. So even if what happens if this a company is making a is committing this type of offence, so at that time whosoever is the in charge here, the it signals towards the directors and the promoters of the company. So they are responsible for conduct of the business. But if they, contrary to this, if any one of the director proves that see I was not at all knowing about all these things or nothing happened which actually so what he can do is he can actually just tell the company that tell the court that I was not responsible for it, or whatever I did, I did my due diligence. With all my due diligence, I prevented the commission of such offence, but I was not able to do that. That's why the check got bounced. Because if the company is having a separate entity, separate legal entity, and all everything is there, so the company may be held responsible for it. Okay. So where a person is nominated as a director of the company by virtue of this holding as an office or employment in the central government or state government or a financial corporation owned by controlled by central government or state government as the case may be, he shall not be liable for a prosecution. So a person who is a director of a central government or state government company and a central government or state government company has a company's check has got bounced because of any insufficient funds or whatever. So in that case, this liability will not be on that person. But yes, the company will be held liable, the company will be prosecuted, but this particular director or the directors of these companies are protected from it. So where an offence under this act has been committed by a company and is proved that the offence has been committed with the consent or the connivance or is attributable to or neglect on any part of any director, manager, secretary or any other officer, then such director, manager, secretary, everyone will be deemed guilty of the offence and shall be liable for the prosecution against them and will be punished according to provisions of section 138. Further, there is an explanation. For this purpose, what does the company means? The company means any body corporate and includes firm and any association of persons or individuals. Director is directly relating to a firm means the partner of the firm. Okay. And for example, a promoter who has borrowed a loan on behalf of the company, who is neither director nor a person in charge, sent a check from the company's account to discharge his legal liabilities. Subsequently, the check was dishonored and the complaint was lodged against him. He will be liable for such offence. Okay. So according to this section, where any check is drawn in person, so he has to be liable in that case. Next is validation for transfer of the pending cases. Now these are the sections which have been introduced afterwards, means as an amendment to certain sections. So what happens in case if what are the provisions regarding the validation of transfer of the pending case? So notwithstanding anything contained in the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 or any judgment, decree or order, direction of any court, all the cases transferred to the court having jurisdiction under section 2 of subsection 142 as amended by the Negotiable Instrument Amendment Ordinance 2015 shall be deemed to have been transferred under this act. Okay, as if the subsection has been forced in all material times. Okay, so further, notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 2 of section 142 or subsection 1, where the payee or the holder in due course, as the case may be, has filed a complaint against the drawer of the check in the court, having jurisdiction under subsection 2 of section 142, or case has been transferred to the court under subsection 1, and such complaint is pending in the court, all such subsequent complaint arising out of section 138 against the same drawer shall be filed before the same court, irrespective of whether those checks were delivered for collection or presented for payment within the territorial jurisdiction of the court. Now, what these two sections are saying? These two sections are saying that the this because we had this amendment act, negotiable instrument amendment ordinance 2015 was passed, and then afterwards this ordinance became the act. So whatever cases are in the previous act will be equally applicable in the current act, as if they have been transferred from that previous act to this act, and there is no other jurisdiction, there is no other court, there is no need to transfer to this someone else. So whatever court is taking the cognizance of it, whatever court is having a jurisdiction on these cases will continue to have the same jurisdiction. Okay. So the above section deals with the respect to filing subsequent complaints also. So any subsequent complaint is there, then also it will be filed again, under the same jurisdiction and the same courts. The payee has filed a complaint against the drawer in the court with appropriate jurisdiction. All the subsequent complaint against that person regarding the check bouncing will be filed in the same court. So this will be irrespective of the mode of presentment of the checks. Okay. So if on date of the commencement of this act, more than one prosecution filed by the same payee or the holder in due course, as the case may be, against the same drawer of the check is pending before the different courts, upon said fact having been brought to the notice of the court, such court shall transfer the case to the court having the jurisdiction under subsection 2 and so under subsection 142 as amended by the negotiable instrument amendment ordinance. Okay, so wherever before the first case was filed is pending and subsection has been enforced afterwards, so with the same court which is having the trial will continue to have the trial of the criminal. Next is the power of court to try the cases summarily. Okay, so trial of the offence, notwithstanding anything contained in the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, all offences under this chapter shall be tried. Tried means will be decided. Tried by the judicial magistrate of class 1 or by metropolitan magistrate, and the provision of section 262 and 265 both inclusive of the said code shall as far as may be applied to the trials. So actually section 262 to 265 of this code of criminal procedure actually deals with when the trial happens in case when the class 1 judicial magistrate or metropolitan magistrate is having the cognizance of the case. So in case of summary trial, what happens, provided that in any case of any conviction in summary trial under the section, it shall be lawful for the magistrate to pass a sentence of imprisonment for a term not exceeding 1 year and an amount of a fine not exceeding a fine exceeding 5,000 rupees. Okay, so this can be done. So in case where no summary trials can be made, so provided further when at the commencement of or in course of a summary trial under this section, it appears to the magistrate that the nature of this case is such that the sentence of imprisonment of the term exceeding 1 year may have to be passed, or that is for any other reason undesirable to try the case summarily, the magistrate shall, after hearing the parties, record an order to the effect and thereafter recall any witness to who may have been examined and proceeded to hear or rehear the case in the manner so provided. Okay, so actually these things are related to the summary trials, or you can say the speedy trials are not that much applicable. Yeah. So next is a speedy trial. So trial of the case under this section shall, so far as applicable consistently with the interest of the justice, may be continued from day to day until its conclusion, unless the court finds adjournment of the trial beyond the following day to be necessary for the reasons to be recorded in trial. So you might have heard that the lawyers or these solicitors, they take long dates. So in this case, if the magistrates considers fit, then daily a date can be given till the court is ended with its proceedings. So there is a lot of efforts taken by the government in order to make the things in a better way. In a better way means, so in order to uh, just ensure that those people who are dealing with the negotiable instrument, they will not be cheated. Previously, what used to happen, if the check has got bounced, so it used to take 15-20 years to get the final decision. Okay. Next is speedy and efficient disposal. Every trial under this section shall be conducted as expeditiously as possible, and an endeavor shall be made to conclude the trial within 6 months of the date of filing the complaint. So this is what, because speedy trial is that only, that the date from which the case has been filed, it should be concluded within that period only. Next is the power to direct the interim compensation. This is the recent section which has been introduced. So what does it say? So notwithstanding anything contained in the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, the court trying an offence under section 138 may order the drawer of the check to pay interim compensation to the complainant in a summary trial or summons case where he pleads not guilty to the accusation has been made by as a complainant, and in other case upon framing of the charges. Okay, so interim compensation under subsection shall not exceed 20% of the amount of the check. So now it is, well, when it is proved that the check has been bounced, and it will take time for for the process of the court. So the court in that case can give a verdict of providing a interim compensation also. So interim compensation shall be paid within 60 days from the date of the order has been issued, or within such a further period not exceeding 30 days as may be directed by the court on sufficient cause being shown by the drawer of the check. Okay, so it can be exceeded, but the drawer has to give. He may, normally he says that it will take some time for me to arrange the money or something like that, so the court may allow it. Okay, but interim compensation before there is a final verdict coming up, so interim compensation can be provided. If the drawer of the check is acquitted, the court shall direct the complainant to repay. Now, what happens if the person actually loses or wins the case? Suppose the person who has filed a complaint has lost the case. So what will happen? Then that person will be told again to repay back the interim compensation with interest at the bank rate as published by Reserve Bank of India, prevalent at the beginning of the relevant financial year, and that too within 60 days from the date of the order, or within such further period not exceeding 30 days as may be directed on giving a special or you can sufficient cause by that complainant. Okay, so this is the power of the code. The interim compensation payable under the section may be recovered as if as it were a fine under section 421 of CRPC. Okay, now next is the power of appellate court to order the payment of pending legal conviction. So this is not in your syllabus, so you need not study this. So we have covered almost everything regarding whatsoever is given in your syllabus. So these are certain things which are not there. Okay, so last two slides you need not study. So up to here, up to for the power of court to grant interim compensation, the things are in your syllabus. Okay, even this is not in your syllabus, but I thought you must be updated with the recent knowledge, so I just taught you this. So up till here, any problem to you, or if you want to ask me anything, you can ask. So in the next week, probably, or maybe tomorrow, we can have a quiz of Negotiable Instrument Act. Will that be okay? There will be common timing of the quiz, and that common timing will be after 3 o'clock or so. So whenever you want to just have a quiz, you can, Shaurya can tell me. Yeah, Shaurya.
Okay, so like I'll float a message in the group.
Yeah, so what I will do is I'm just putting this and my entire presentation on your Teams, so that you can just have a look of this presentation and you can prepare it accordingly.
Sure, sir.
So anything else is required, or anything else you want, everyone?
So how much
Sir,
syllabus is left?
Only 2 acts are left. So if allowed, I can finish the syllabus in 10 days, but the thing is that we have to go a bit longer. So I think we can have some revision also in between. So 2 acts are remaining. One is Partnership Act and another is Limited Liability Partnership.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So
Sir.
yeah.
सर आपका वो जो असाइनमेंट 11 और 12 है उसकी थोड़ी ड्यू डेट आगे कर सकते हो क्या?
नहीं बेटा, असाइनमेंट की ड्यू डेट्स आगे नहीं होंगी. अब वाले असाइनमेंट में थोड़ा लेट कर दूंगा. असाइनमेंट ड्यू डेट जो अनाउंस हो गई वो आगे नहीं.
थोड़े बहुत असाइनमेंट्स हमें बहुत सारे मिले हैं और आपका भी असाइनमेंट है, तो मैं सोच रहा था कि असाइनमेंट आपका 10 और 11 9 या 10 को अगर सबमिट कर देते तो ठीक रहता सर.
नहीं, असाइनमेंट की डेट आगे नहीं बढ़ाऊंगा क्योंकि जिन लोगों ने असाइनमेंट ऑलरेडी सबमिट कर दिए हैं तो वो तो बेवकूफ बन गए. फिर ये सब काम तब होता है जब मैं असाइनमेंट की डेट अनाउंस कर रहा होता हूँ, तब आप लोग कहो, तब तो समझ में आता है कि हाँ वो फिर सबके लिए बढ़े ना. बढ़े तो अभी तो केवल आपके लिए बढ़ेगी कार्तिकेय, बाकी लोग क्या करेंगे? इसका मतलब आपने जब सब लोगों ने कर लिया है तो आपको भी टाइम से करना चाहिए था. समझ रहे हो कि नहीं समझ रहे हो? इट विल बी इनजस्टिस टू एवरीवन एल्स अदरवाइज. और मैं लॉ पढ़ा रहा हूँ यार, ऐसे मत करो. हाँ, अगले वाले असाइनमेंट्स की आप जो डेट बोलोगे मैं रख लूँ, मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं. लेकिन अभी वो जो असाइनमेंट्स की डेट में मैंने अनाउंस कर दी है, दैट इज फॉर एवरीवन. होप यू अंडरस्टैंड. यस
यस सर, यस सर.
है ना? आगे से आप जैसा बोलोगे आप डिसाइड करो. आपका सीआर ही इज अ वेल एफिशिएंट पर्सन, आपसे पूछ के ही डेट्स रखता होगा पहले भी. शौर्य, तुम क्या डेट्स पूछ के नहीं रखते हो क्या?
सर 1 वीक का टाइम देता हूँ सर.
फिर और क्या चाहिए यार? अब उसमें क्या है कि देखो, मेरे जो सिंपल है, अपन ने पहले भी अनाउंस कर रखा है भी, जो भी हफ्ते भर में होगा वो इस हफ्ते के एंड में देना है. अब जैसे इस हफ्ते तो मैंने कोई असाइनमेंट आपको दिया ही नहीं. डू यू हैव टू सबमिट एनी असाइनमेंट फॉर द वीक? शौर्य, है कोई?
नो सर, नॉट फॉर दिस वीक.
फिर बताओ. जब मैंने आपको फ्री छोड़ा ना, आप दूसरे असाइनमेंट करो. अब ऐसे मत करो यार कि मतलब दूसरे के भी असाइनमेंट करने हैं तो तुम मेरी बात लगा रहे हो यार, ऐसे मत करो. कार्तिकेय, चलो यार असाइनमेंट दे ही देता हूँ. दे दूँ असाइनमेंट?
नो सर, प्लीज इस हफ्ते तो देना. इस हफ्ते तो दो ही मत सर.
चलो लिखो, असाइनमेंट लिखो. और ये असाइनमेंट हाँ
सर बाद में दे देना सर. अभी
लिखो. ये क्रॉसिंग ऑफ चेक्स के ऊपर रहेगा. ओके, क्रॉसिंग ऑफ चेक्स
का मत दो सर.
एक डिसऑनर लिखो. व्हाट आर द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस ऑफ. तुमने फिर गलत टाइम पे असाइनमेंट की बात कर दी यार कार्तिकेय, अब तो देना पड़ेगा
सर. इस हफ्ते मत दो सर, सही में सर. इस हफ्ते सही में मत दो, बहुत सारे मिले हुए हैं सर ऑलरेडी हमको, इसलिए इस हफ्ते मत दो सर. अगले हफ्ते या दूसरे हफ्तों का देखो सर.
चलो छोड़ दिए, लेकिन असाइनमेंट लिख लो, इसको अगले हफ्ते दे देना बस. अब तो ठीक है, मैं भूल जाऊंगा फिर नहीं तो. लिखो, व्हाट आर द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस ऑफ क्रॉसिंग, व्हाट आर द consequences of dishonor of a check. Explain the provisions of section 138 and the related provisions in detail. Shaurya?
Yes sir.
Write down. Explain the consequences of dishonor of a check.
Yes sir.
Explaining in detail the provisions of section 138 and other related sections. Number one. Second is, what do you mean by crossing of checks? Explain in details various types of crossing and its consequences. बस ये 2 क्वेश्चन करने हैं. अब बताइए, अब आज क्या तारीख है?
8 अक्टूबर.
8 में 7 दिन जोड़ दो. सॉरी, क्या बनता है?
15th.
15 को आपको असाइनमेंट देना है. कार्तिकेन ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Okay. और किसी को कोई दिक्कत?
Sir, can I just repeat the questions?
Yeah, sure.
Explain in detail the crossing of checks. What are the consequences of dishonor of check? And explain in detail provisions of 138 and other related sections.
ये 138 and other related section is along with the dishonor of checks.
Okay, sir.
So this is one question only.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chalo. Fine, guys. Chalo, let me take the attendance so that we can finish the class. Chandresh Kumar Sigar absent है क्या? दृष्टि वर्मा, गौतम गोदरा, हर्षित
Present, sir.
हेमंत खटीक, कार्तिक राज,
Yes, sir.
कार्तिकेन शर्मा, खुशी शेखावत,
Present,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
लक्ष्यराज सिंह,
सर प्रेजेंट।
लक्ष्यराज
हाँ
सिंह
मैं आपको
अगेन,
अभी देती हूँ
मदन गोयल,
व्हाट्सएप पर।
पतंग शर्मा,
Yes, sir.
स्वामी, पार्थ
Present,
नरेंद्र
sir.
भाई,
ठीक है।
प्रकाश चौधरी, पुनीत
हाँ।
यादव,
Yes, sir.
सुरेंद्रपाल सिंह,
Yes, sir.
राहुल दुपलिया, राकेश रायका,
Present,
रवि
sir.
रमन,
Present, sir.
Yes, sir.
मोदी, संदीप सिंह भाटी, शौर्य
Yes,
दीक्षित,
sir.
सौम्यदीपा साहा, तारुष मुदगल,
Present,
कीर्तक
sir.
भाई फुटारिया.
Yes, sir.
Present, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. ठीक है guys, so all the best and do your best the rest of the day. The day is with you. Okay, take care. Bye bye. See
थैंक यू सर।
Yeah, bye bye.